here, insurance for your small business? Okay, good. Thank you. Well, the title of today's webinar is called Insurance for Your Small Business. There are 58 community colleges across North Carolina. The services that each small business center and director provide are invaluable. They're a tremendous resource. I call them connectors. They're a great connector for folks in local communities. Whether you need advice on starting an LLC, what does that look like, how to start it, whether it's insurance advice or whether it's some type of legal advice regarding a certain patent maybe or something like that. They are great connectors for the community. So again, reach out to your local SBC director and get those free resources. I want this to be very sort of informal and relaxed. Feel free to, whatever question you have, just drop it in the chat. I'll leave plenty of time at the end so that we can address your specific question, okay? The name of my company is On Point Insurance Consulting. What's a little unique about On Point is that we provide coaching, insurance counseling. We do not sell any insurance policy. Now, that's the unique part about it, is because we do not sell insurance. We are essentially your insurance coach, We're going to listen to your needs, your goals, and provide an unbiased review process. We're going to make recommendations, and they will be unbiased since we don't sell insurance. Okay, so that's that there. And as we move through today's webinar about insurance, we hope to really find areas that you might be uninsured, you might be underinsured, and maybe there are areas, if you have insurance policies on your business, maybe there's areas where you might be overinsured or maybe double covered. So that's another area to look at. Those three. Are you overinsured in some areas? Are you underinsured, or are you uninsured? So it's about finding those gaps. Secondly, we want to help you avoid potential lawsuits, right? That's the overarching theme, is to make sure you're covered so that you avoid a potential lawsuit. I've developed a two-part slide deck here that relates to premium. Lots of folks, including myself, when I started my business, I wasn't really sure exactly what some of the premium was going to be, because this was a new business for me. So I developed a worksheet here that outlines a lot of the policies and what you can expect to pay for those premiums here in North Carolina. I will come back to this at the very end, and some of these will be applicable to you and some will not. Like, for instance, workers' comp. You might need a workers' comp policy and you might not, depending on the number of employees that you have. But for instance, general liability, and I've got the premium out to the right, commercial inland marine, which, whether it's required or not, and then the average premium for the year. So again, this is a two-part deck that I will be glad to come back to at the end, and also I can share this with you if you like. We'll hop right in and talk about the most important, the base policy that most, if not all, business owners need, and that is a general liability policy. General liability. It's the cornerstone for the very beginning phase of your business. Okay, virtually every business owner needs a general liability policy, because a general liability policy covers acts of negligence. It is a negligence-based insurance policy. What does that mean? That means that it covers bodily injuries, property damage, and loss of business income. Those are the three core elements on your general liability policy: is bodily injury, property damage, and loss of business income. I'll give you an example. Let's say that someone hires me, I'm a contractor, and they want me to build a deck at their home or patio. Let's say that I go out there and I'm building a deck onto their home, and I finish the job, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, that homeowner goes out to their deck and they fall down and they hurt themselves. Okay. Perhaps I didn't secure a board or a railing properly, and they fall down and injure themselves. That's where my general liability policy will respond. Okay. Acts of negligence or workmanship that happened due to my negligence. Okay. Things like that. Or maybe another example would be if I'm installing cabinets in your home. Okay. I'm installing a cabinet and I drop it and I damage your kitchen tile. My general liability policy would respond to repair or replace the damaged tile. Okay. Workers' compensation or workers' comp. You need a workers' comp in North Carolina if you have 3 or more employees. Okay. 3 or more employees. What is it? Workers' comp coverage is for work-related injuries or work-related illnesses for your employees. Again, work-related injuries or work-related illnesses for your employees. Okay. Something to keep in mind on a workers' comp policy is if you are using a sub, you're going to use a subcontractor, make sure that, number one, that sub has insurance. Okay. I would never use a subcontractor if he or she did not have their own insurance policy. So number one, make sure they have their own insurance. And then number two, if they're going to do work, if you're subbing out a certain job, make sure that you add them as an additional insured on your policy. Again, it's called additional insured. That way you're protected for the work that they do as well. Okay. Disability coverage. I mentioned disability because if you are making a transition or going to be making a transition from an employee to an employer, it's likely that you lose a number of your group benefits, right? Like disability, long-term care, or life insurance and disability. So it's something to be mindful of when you make that transition as a self-employed person and you have a business. It's critical that you look at some disability insurance. It's not required, of course, but it is something that you want to look at. You can get a short-term disability policy, perhaps like 6 months or maybe even a year, or you can get a long-term disability policy that lasts for 5 years or to age 65. So just want to encourage you to look at that. The best rates, much like life insurance, are when you're young and healthy. Okay. Most everyone that's in business has business tools and equipment. Okay. Tools and equipment. How do you insure your tools and your equipment? Okay. You insure your business tools and all your equipment under this policy, a commercial inland marine. Okay. Commercial inland marine policy. Okay. Again, this is where you're going to insure all your contractor tools and all your equipment. Now, What do you need when you do this? Number one, retain all your owner's manuals. All your owner's manuals. Retain your receipts. Okay. Thirdly, take pictures and or video of all your tools and equipment. Okay. Now, why do I say that? If you have a claim or a loss, that something is stolen or vandalized, the adjuster, one of the first things he or she will do or ask for is a claim inventory report. And he or she will ask you to list the items that were stolen or damaged. Okay. So if you have current pictures or video with receipts, and especially the owner's manual outlining the serial number, the make, year, and model, that makes everything go by quicker. So if it's quicker to submit that information on the front end, the quicker you get paid and doing business again. Okay. So again, retain your owner's manuals, retain your receipts, and take pictures of your tools and equipment. All right. Health insurance. The 2 points I want to mention on health insurance as you're navigating that, either brand new to health insurance and you're needing coverage for yourself and your employees, or you're going to wait till the renewal to make some changes. Number one, make sure that your doctor and your primary physician are part of the network in your plan. Okay. Not every hospital or doctor partners in the same network or with your plan. So number one, and most importantly, make sure that your doctor and the hospital that you will be using in your community, make sure that they participate in your plan. Number two, compare rates. Right now, our rates in the healthcare industry vary. They vary dramatically. So it would be very beneficial to look at your coverage plan and look to see what copay you're on and see what kind of rate, because the rates do vary from one health insurance company to the next right now. And the rates do sometimes make a difference of $100 or $200 a month difference. So life insurance. Again, one of those core benefits that you lose from going from an employee to an employer. Okay. If you are self-employed, it's likely that you lost your coverage on your group benefits. So now, making that transition, it would be wise to look at some life insurance. Okay. Why? If you have people like a spouse or children that depend on your income, much like disability, if you get hurt and you can't work, you need disability. Well, life insurance functions in a similar manner. If you are no longer there, how can your business continue? And you want to be sure that you have both debt protection. So, the money, the amount of money that you set aside to take care of your family, it not only needs to take care of your immediate debt, but money to your family, for your family to live on. Okay. As you're looking at life insurance, make sure or know that when it expires. Most term life insurance has an expiration date. It will expire at some point. Okay. So you need to know or ask this question: when does my coverage expire? Okay. Number two, when will it increase? Most term rate or most term policies have a definitive date. They have a premium that's level for like 10 years or 20 years, and then that premium goes up. Okay. So question number two to ask is, when will my rate increase? Okay. So number one, make sure that your coverage will know when it will expire. And then number two, know when your coverage will increase. Okay. Thirdly, be sure that your beneficiary is who it needs to be. So often we make changes in life, like we have a marriage, we have a divorce, okay? And a lot of times, if we start that policy 8 or 10 years ago and that we go through that life change, we don't remember to make that beneficiary change on our life insurance policy. So make sure that if you have went through that type of life event, marriage or divorce, that you have the correct beneficiary, primary beneficiary listed on your life insurance. E&O, or professional liability. E&O stands for errors and omissions, okay? If you are in a service-related industry, or your business calls for you to give advice, whether that's financial advice, any kind of advice, and you've got a social media forum, you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram or Facebook, and you are giving any kind of advice to someone, you need professional liability coverage, okay? And it protects you against claims of negligent advice or negligent work, okay? So again, it could be financial advice, it could be certain real estate advice, it could be insurance, anything where you're giving advice that could have the potential to harm someone. That's the key. The potential to harm someone, either physically or financially. Product liability, okay? Product liability. Let's say that you are making candles or lotions and you're selling them online, like Etsy, okay? You are going to need product liability. And that's applicable to anything. I just used the example of candles or lotions, but anything that you are making and selling, whether you're making and selling a product at a local market or you're selling that product online, you need to be sure that you have product liability, okay? How you get this is under a general liability policy. That was the very first policy we spoke about, that general liability policy. This product liability will be an endorsement or an add-on that you include under the general liability policy, okay? Typically, the coverage under a general liability for this type of coverage is typically starting at $1 million. You can get 300,000 or 500,000, but most business owners, for the cost, get $1 million protection, okay? Personal umbrella policy. All of us have liability limits on our home or our auto policy. And how we understand that is this. Our liability limits on our home or auto, they pay up to a certain amount. Up to is the key phrase there. Up to. In other words, if you get involved in an accident, your insurance company has liability limits that you've signed off on that say they are responsible for damages up to a certain max. And that could be 100,000, it might be 300,000, but there's a level, there's a maximum that your insurance company will pay up to. Here's where having a personal umbrella policy, it fills in the gap. It's in addition to. So once you've reached that max, a personal umbrella policy covers beyond that. Okay, let's use an example. Let's say that I'm involved in an accident, an at-fault accident. It's my fault, and I have 100,000 liability limits. But the people that I hit, not only that I totaled their $50,000 car, but there are 4 people in the car, and they each have to go to the hospital, and they've got some big injuries, okay? Injuries that far exceed that $100,000 limit. What happens there? Well, number one, they could sue for that difference, right? So I only have protection on my auto policy, hypothetically, up to that 100,000. Okay. So here's where having an additional policy called a personal umbrella policy would kick in and cover that gap. Okay. Some of you may need a business auto policy. Okay. So if you have a work truck or van or vehicle that you'll be using exclusively for business purposes, for business use, you'll need to make sure that that's titled and registered in the business name. Okay. It needs to be in the business name. Now, there are a number of business owners that could use their personal vehicle, okay, for business use. Okay. Let's say that you have a Toyota Camry, and that your type of business, you make certain sales calls or certain type of deliveries, okay, in your personal vehicle. Here's how you need to ensure that. Make sure that when you contact your insurance company, that you classify that vehicle business use, okay? It doesn't need to come off on a separate policy if it's titled to you personally, but you do need to classify that vehicle business use. That's it. They can do that under your personal auto policy, but make sure that it's classed business use. Okay. Secondly, when you are going through your auto policy, whether it's personal or business, make sure that you list all drivers. Okay. It's very easy as a business owner, especially with multiple employees, to forget to include or add each driver onto your business auto policy. But be sure and do that so that you don't have a gap or an area where that adjuster could say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't cover that claim because he or she wasn't added as a driver. Okay. So be sure and add all drivers on your policy. From time to time, you may have heard the phrase builder's risk. This is for our contractor friends who are building a new home or they're doing renovation work. Okay. So again, if you are a contractor and you were going to be doing renovation work for someone or starting a new build, that person would need what's called a builder's risk. And it covers the building or the work while under construction. Okay. Bonds. A bond and an insurance policy are very different. It's confusing, but they are very different. A bond is structured to protect third-party clients. Okay. Bonds are used to protect a client that hires a particular company for a job. Okay. So now, let me give you an example. Let's say a cleaning company or a janitorial company is coming into my home to clean, and that janitorial or cleaning service has employees coming into my home to clean. Okay. That janitorial company or cleaning company would need to have a bond. They would need to be bonded. Specifically, they would need to have what's called employee dishonesty bond. Employee dishonesty bond. That way, if I have something stolen from my house, there would be protection there. Okay. That janitorial company would have protection because they would be bonded. It's basically an agreement. A bond is basically an agreement that that company will morally and ethically finish that job. Okay. So most, if not all, contractors, mortgage brokers, auto dealers, realtors will need to be bonded. Cyber security. cybersecurity is probably one of the most, it's one of the hottest topics right now, especially for business owners. If you are going to be in a situation where you're storing any kind of data, personal data on employees or clients, any kind of data, personal data, financial data, health insurance information, you will need a cyber security policy, okay, so that you're protected. Now, a good cyber policy will have loss of business income. That way, when your business has a loss due to this data breach, maybe your business is inoperable. You can't function for a week or two, okay? Well, during that downtime, you need to be sure that your business has this endorsement under this policy called loss of business income, okay? So that's number one. And then number two, a good cyber policy will have legal protection, okay? It will respond with legal protection and PR work to reestablish the protection for your clients or your employees that have been breached, okay? Some common gaps. We talk about how you can be protected, and we talk about how, am I uninsured? Are you underinsured? Or maybe are you overinsured, right? Well, incorrectly listed business details, okay? What I mean by that is, let's say that you're in business and you first start off as an individual or sole proprietor. It's just you. Well, let's say you're growing, your business is really, really growing, and it goes from an individual to perhaps a partnership. Maybe it changes to an LLC or maybe even a S Corp, okay? So be sure if your business changes names that you contact your insurance company to mirror exactly how that change should be. Because again, we want to prevent your insurance company from saying, if you have a claim, oh, I see that your business now is, it's not, that's not the correct name of your business. So as you make these changes, it's important to be proactive and update your insurance policy to exactly read the LLC or individual or partnership that it is. So just stay on top of that proactively. Now, if you have a brick and mortar location, you'll want to be sure, hey, do I need a flood insurance policy? Okay. Now, fortunately, if you're going through the loan process, that's something that the mortgage broker and your realtor will advise if you're in a flood zone. But again, be sure that you at least make sure that you're not in a flood zone and do not have a need for flood insurance. Look down here, and I've got employment practices liability insurance. Employment practices liability. What that is this. As an employer, your employees can bring litigation or lawsuit over virtually anything now, but especially wrongful termination or sexual misconduct of some nature. So that's where if an employee brings litigation related to wrongful termination, okay, or any kind of sexual misconduct, anything like that, you're going to need to have employment practices liability protection, okay? Employment practices liability. Again, that's where those type of occurrences will respond in events of wrongful termination and that kind of thing. The number one way to minimize your liability is just having your policy reviewed, okay? Just staying on top of that. I suggest at least every 6 months, but it could be more often than that, depending on the number of changes that you're making. But at least every 6 months, have your policy reviewed for accuracy and for areas that you might be having a gap in, you know, because it's very easy now to overlook areas like cybersecurity, that last one there, employment practices liability. It's very easy to not know what kind of gaps you might have. So at least stay on top of that proactively, and at least every 6 months have your policy reviewed. Okay. Documentation and organization. That's critical as a business owner. In other words, know where everything is, and not just you. If you have a key person in your business, make sure they know where all the documents are at. Okay, make sure that that you stay organized and that you document everything, every phone call that you, or every consultation that you do, because consistency or persistency wins. Okay, if you do the same thing over and over again and you're consistent with that, that's important. So just keep good documentation, much like the your pictures on your tools and equipment, and your owner's manuals and your receipts for your tools and your equipment. Put all those things in a folder, and that way, like I say, you're organized and you're securely documented for your receipts. At this point, I'll check the chat and see if there are any questions there.
I don't think I see any, Brian. Do you?
I don't have any, don't see any question there. Someone, Claudia, did you have a question about cyber security?
I can unmute you. Sorry. Where are the people? Okay, Claudia. There you go. Ask your question.
Okay. Okay, I just want, I guess, more information or more details about cybersecurity. I mean, is there something you just buy for, I guess, software, exactly what it can, I just want more details, I guess.
Okay, yes. When you're setting up, for instance, if you have an online presence or website, as you're going through that phase, a lot of, depending on what website that you use, you'll be given an opportunity to purchase different tiers or levels of cyber protection at that point. So I would recommend starting there, because you can get a base plan, or depending on the scope of your business, you can get different layers of protection there. So, you know, I can share with you the platform that I use, and I've been very pleased, because it's about $39 a month is the cost on mine. And I didn't get the most robust plan, but again, I got the level, kind of a mid-grade tier, and it's running about $39 a month for that protection. But when you're setting up your website, they will ask you, you know, at that point, here's how we protect the identity of your data, your content, and your specifically if you're delivering content online, it protects your voice really from that point. And they integrate a lot of things in their software to prevent breaches. So that's my recommendation is, and I can send you that. I can email you who I use. I've been very pleased.
Okay. I have just one more question about that. The cybersecurity, does that, like you said, according to the layers of protection, it's like, okay, you have a Facebook page and all the pictures there are public, right?
Right.
So anyone can just copy, paste, and, you know, I'm curious to know about that insurance that you talk about. Like, if someone were to, I guess, use my pictures or something and post it on their business website or something, can you explain that to me, how that would go?
Okay, like in how the insurance would respond, or
Yes.
okay.
Or how does that, I mean, how would I have to react, or how would I know what to do in that case?
Okay, there's where a good cyber policy will have a legal team to address that immediately.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that falls under the cybersecurity insurance.
That's right. That's right. A good cyber policy will respond where it has a legal front to it. That's the very first thing they do anyway, is the legal team responds in that manner to shut down and correct that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Brian, how much in detail, and excuse me, I had to pop off for a second, but how much detail did you go into regarding key personnel? If an owner or a partner has an accident, incapacitated in any area, did you cover that?
Yes. When I was discussing the particularly on the life insurance, a lot of times, especially in a partnership form, but there is something called key person insurance, okay, where a business owner will need to have a life insurance plan on a particular employee that brings a certain value to that company, a niche. It could be an engineer that has a certain niche that couldn't be really duplicated, or someone that has a certain skill set in that company. Well, you would need to take out what's called a key person insurance plan on that particular person, so that if that person left or passed away, there would be added protection there to continue that business.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's something that people don't think about, but it happens more than we would like to think. But yeah,
it is, because there's so many now. There's so many founders of companies that they have kind of this big picture idea, but then they will go out and hire specific people, especially engineer types, and they have a certain skill set, or maybe programmers, right? Folks with a certain computer skill set that they need, that are so valuable to that company. Yeah.
And this is something that we're doing at the college, and it should be done probably to a certain extent in small businesses, is doing a standard operating procedure, almost like who is key to your organization and what is key to providing your services and products. So that will let you to line out what insurance policies you may need, or
right,
something
exactly,
like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yep.
Does anyone else have questions? We can get into specifics of your company or what areas that we're looking at.
Alethea has a question for workers' comp coverage. Is that necessary for contracted employees? And let's see.
I can't see the chat.
Alicia, not for contracted employees.
But you have to be extremely careful as to whether they're truly a contracted employee or that they might be deemed an employee for your company.
Right. And that's one of the things when I was discussing the workers' comp, I would really caution, if I was using any kind of contracted employee, I would make sure they're covered. Number one, that they have their own insurance, because at each year when your policy is audited, you can get charged for every job that they do, especially if they're not covered separately.
Yeah, awesome. Great point.
And then there's one more, Michelle, for the commercial inland marine insurance, does this include office equipment like laptops, cameras, surveillance system? Yes. That commercial inland marine policy, like your business tools and equipment, all that, your computers, your cameras, all that is under this policy of commercial inland marine. Same principles too. Keep your owner's manuals, your receipts, and then take pictures of those items too. But yes.
And that would also relate to anybody with high-end inventory, correct? Like if they had shoes that are worth a lot more than what you'd expect.
That's right. That's right. It could be artwork, right?
Mhm.
It could be artwork. It could be, as you say, Martha, it could be shoes, wardrobe, anything that needs to be like that. It needs to be what's called itemized, listed separately on that policy. Yep. Guns are that way. Some folks have lots of guns, so those are also done the same way on an inland marine policy.
Okay. What about, and I apologize if you covered earlier, but if a business owner is leasing, the owner of the property should have property insurance. Their business equipment, inventory, and all that would be covered by a normal commercial policy. Did that make sense?
Yeah, the property owner, is that what you said, Martha?
No, the business owner, but he or she is operating the business as a tenant. So is there something like, does the commercial policy work like a renter's insurance policy almost, is what I'm saying? So that all of their stuff inside that property is covered as well.
Exactly. Well, right. That person would need a commercial fire policy.
Commercial what?
Well, it's called a commercial CPP, commercial package policy, where they're specifically covering those items inside there. Commercial package policy.
Perfect.
Let's see. Answered the question about workers' comp, about inland marine. Another person asked, is there insurance for business owners who travel a lot, like special travelers insurance and possibly an endorsement under another category? Excuse me. Yes, I didn't get into it, but there are various, there's really 3 or 4 really good travel insurance plans. I don't have a slide deck on that. But I can email you a little bit more detail about that if you like.
If anybody wants an email, you can put it in the chat, and
Yes.
Brian can capture that. So if in the course of business you're traveling to somewhere and your flight is canceled and you lose your luggage, does it cover as detailed as that?
That's actually an endorsement you can put under your home insurance. There's a certain there's a certain home endorsement that you can include to cover those items. What it's called there, contents away from premises.
Okay. And you see that person put the email in there?
Just a second here. Yes.
Did you cover transportation businesses? Like if I pick up seniors to go to the doctor's office?
I didn't. That is something that I can talk about for a second. Like if you're making deliveries in the community or picking up folks, right? Okay, sure. Just let me get this person's email here.
Okay. You see it? And let me read it out to you.
Yes, if you will, please.
All right, hold on. I think somebody else put theirs in too. Okay, hold on. SKIE1980@gmail. And then Claudia, is that you continuing to ask about cybersecurity? Oh, that's EL. Well, let me see. I would like an email about cybersecurity. I think that's what this said. I apologize, y'all. My chat's not moving very well.
then the other ELEATHIAJW @gmail.
Then we have Michelle. Do you see that one? Insurance for business. Well, that was with Travelers. And these will record, thank goodness. So if you need to run through there and copy and paste those or something, that's fine. Can we get a copy of the recording? Yes, I am recording. And I'm going to send this out to those of you who actually attend. Did you get Strata at my Yahoo? Did you get that one? LaMonica, which issue are you interested in? Go ahead and unmute if you'd like.
Cybersecurity, and I also posted a question. So right now I'm just now getting started up, and so my business address is my home address as well. So I didn't know if these insurances would apply because it's my home as well.
Did you get that, Brian?
Did you say you're just getting started, and what kind of business?
So my business is a nonprofit that brings awareness and bridges the digital gap. So anything IT, focusing more on cybersecurity, but I mean, I go anywhere from desktops all the way up to servers. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for years, but really it's kind of on the lower level because it's in the underrepresented, underserved community. So most of the time they don't have the skills and just providing access to the internet for them.
Right. And so her question is, what commercial policies apply if her headquarters, so to speak, is in her home?
Oh, because you're operating out of your home, correct? So,
yes.
Okay. The basic plan that you'll need there for your protection is a BSN, business owners policy, that will endorse your liability and as you travel from site to site, and also if you're giving advice online related to cybersecurity, that's where you can pick up your liability protection under that BSN, business owners policy as well. It's going to be a comprehensive plan that covers your liability. You can even include some contents under that too.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions that we might have missed in the chat? Because I'm at the end, I think.
Okay, let me get this one here. This email, can you email the cybersecurity email as well at info@manifest more? Okay, let me get that one. Okay, and then I've got Claudia. LaMonica. Yes, Strata. And also, this being an abbreviated type of insurance, trying to cover a lot of different topics and grounds, Martha and others provide what you'd want maybe some information on that wasn't covered here today. I think, Martha, you mentioned like deliveries, if you're picking up transportation. I didn't get into that, but it's something that I think that warrants space. So that is an area that I can address in a separate forum or separate webinar as well. But that and what other information outside of that is somebody kind of curious on? you can drop that in the chat, and I can add this to my webinar, and also send this additional information on like travel insurance too. That's another one, travel insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And then delivery. Okay, medical insurance. Okay. I guess LaMonica, you're talking about specific plans like deductibles, co-pays, what's covered, and right. Okay, transportation, right? People, delivery, dump truck, right? Okay, for small business, right? Hospital stay. Okay, get into like coding and how different things are coded and things there. International travel, that's a good one, good topic. So
I was trying to unmute myself. When I speak of medical insurance, so I'm going to be coming from, I have a full-time job, so I have medical insurance right now. So I'm going to be coming from that environment to trying to do my own business. And so I was trying to see what options were out there for people that are transitioning into their own.
okay, sure. Well, there are two primary ones, and that is Blue Cross and United, that really function well to make that transition. I deal more with the review process with Blue Cross policies, and know what that coverage is and how they really can respond to self-employed folks, and as it relates to certain HSAs. HSAs are very popular for self-employed, and I can that's pretty much a 15 to 20 minute topic to go into to how HSAs function, and how you can really save a lot of money doing that too, because there are certain things that are covered, certain expenses, certain items at the CVS and Walgreens that are covered that you can write off. So that's something that I can get into on a separate one as well. But really, really great topics. But and then also I can share with you in a separate email some of the most competitive plans that I've seen out there in the last 6 months for self-employed folks.
Okay.
The key there would be just willing to have a higher deductible. That's really the key as a small business or self-employed person, being able to, especially if you're healthy, being able to choose a higher deductible to offset your premium. I will be glad. We've had such a good response and lots of, detailed questions. I would be glad to circle back and do this again with those expanded concerns as it relates to delivery and hospital insurance, travel insurance, especially for folks who are doing international travel or even picking up folks around town and making deliveries and things like that. Because I know that, for instance, my mom, she's in a nursing home here in Hickory, and occasionally they will take the residents out across the community for, just rides across town and certain errands. So there's certain insurance plans, coverages that they even need before they even allow my mom to make those trips. So I can get into that as well, and that's applicable for if you're making pizza deliveries or whatever. That's another good topic, is what kind of insurance do folks like that need. So what I was going to say is I'd be glad to circle back to this and do another recording or another webinar in the next couple of weeks, if this is something that a number of you want. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, I won't be able to do it in the next couple of weeks, but we could do it before year end for sure. So like you said, if you have any other specialized topics, feel free to put that in the chat. And if we don't have any other questions, Brian, thank you so much. This is a very important topic for especially our new business owners. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions, but I tell you what, this email right here is the best way to reach me, Brian at onpointinsconsulting.com. And if I miss your email, please email me right here at Brian at onpointinsconsulting.com so that I can address your specific question.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for participating and sitting in today. And I will send this out next week and everything. And make sure and follow up with us. If you have any other questions, you can always contact me or Brian. Putting my contact in the chat. And always let us know if you have any questions. One more message came through, but I cannot get to it. Oh, thank you. Right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Brian, we really appreciate your help with this today.
I'm glad to help, and I'll be in touch with you folks, okay?
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.